Howdy folks, Sauber here. Welcome back to the channel. Oh man. There are some interesting developments occurring in War Thunder lately. Oh man, where do I even begin? Oh, I know. Well, before I begin actually, I will say that I was originally going to make, I guess you could say the entire focus of this video be on the helicopters and in Helicopter Arcade, but oh man. 1.83 Monsters of the Sea is already around the corner. It's barely been a month since we got the Valkyries. Man, the developers are working overdrive. It's overtime. It's crazy. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. What's going to be the starter for this discussion? I think you can guess. The FPE and parts. That's right. FPE and parts. You know what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to delve too deeply into its origins because now, in a way, it's now behind us. This is what I'm talking about, and I'll link it in the description below. The developers have released an official developer commentary. Let's talk about FPE, parts, and RP gain, aka the RP cap. So it just goes to show, guys, the developers do indeed listen to feedback. It just takes some time to formulate an excellent response and, you know, translate from Russian to English. And even so, nothing happens overnight. If something comes to their attention and they're able to act on it, they're not going to just rush into it. They're going to try to formulate a response and say, okay, what would be an excellent response? What could we do to solve this problem? And this is how they solved it, which, in my honest opinion, now I understand not everybody's going to be satisfied with this, but let's be honest. You're never going to make everybody happy. You may make one side happy, but the other one angry. If you try to make the other side happy, you're going to make the first side angry. So let's just bring that into context. But anyway, for those that have either already seen the video, but maybe didn't get its context, or maybe you haven't seen it yet. Here's what it is. The TLDW. FPE will be available to research immediately after the repair kit. So what does this mean? Well, basically, previously, if you wanted to research FPE, you had to get 2 or even 3 Tier 1 modifications, depending on the vehicle, in order to unlock rank 2 and purchase FPE. Now, you could just research parts and then immediately research FPE afterwards. So that's definitely nice. In addition, you are able to repair a friend without parts if you are in a squad or just playing an IFV or light tank. Now, I will be honest, I haven't tested this part yet, but I'm not sure if it means, like, if you're in a light tank, you can repair your squad mate if you don't have parts, or if they don't have parts, or if both of you don't have parts. I don't know. That'll be interesting to find out once I get more information on that. But my personal favorite is the no RP cap for actions or activity. Now, what does this mean? Well, I have to admit, the first time I heard about the RP cap was, I interpreted it as follows. Suppose a player takes a vehicle, say, a tank destroyer, and you do what a tank destroyer would historically do. You find an excellent cover, lie in ambush, and wait for the enemy to come to you, and then pick them off one by one. That's what a TD would historically do, and what some players are able to do pretty successfully, depending on the map, of course. The problem with that was that the game would not be able to distinguish if you're playing cowardly or lazily, or if you're playing smart and tactfully. All the game would know is that you're not going Rambo and rushing enemy tanks. So yeah, it turns out that is not the case. This is what I've learned from gathering information about the RP cap and from watching the video. For example, in the old system, if you played 2 battles with roughly the same battle activity, and when I say battle activity, I mean roughly the same amount of tanks destroyed, capture points taken, etc., If you played one battle that was 10 minutes, and then you played another battle that was 25 or even 30 minutes, the reward would be the same. That was the RP cap. And I'm glad I fully understand it now, because I feel silly that I interpreted it a completely different way. But I guess that's the case when you don't fully understand a system. Anyhow, this was recently confirmed also by the 1.81.2.27 update patch note. So we already got the new system in place, which is great. And I've already tested some of the rewards, and they are great. But I'll go ahead and read what it said about the economics before I mention what I've observed. And I'm going to do it in my little Russian developer accent. Economy changes for repair costs and multi-pillars of vehicle rewards. The reward will depend on the time spent in a game session. The longer you play, the higher the reward will be. The reward is not limited. Ooh, thank you. Activity of a player will be calculated relative to the time that they have spent in the game, and not based on the actual session time, which will lead to an increase in activity, and accordingly, rewards for players who could not finish the session to the end. The new system will not affect the rewards for actions in a battle. To unlock modifications of the second rank, it is only required to research one modification of the first rank. Previously, it was 2 modifications. This is going to be great. I'm curious as to what they meant by the new system will not affect the rewards for actions in a battle. I personally haven't noticed a change in that regard, unless I'm just, didn't notice. But at any rate, overall, these are excellent changes. Now, what I was going to mention of the reward changes that I've observed is that, for example, in my T54 model 1951, which I've had a talisman on ever since, I believe, early 2016, late 2015. I've had a talisman on it for a long time, that I know for sure. And plus, it's really fun to play at 7-7. I mean, sure, you don't win every single match, or get a lot of kills in it all the time, but if you play it right and you get a favorable game, you can do really well in it. For example, there was one battle where I got 2 tanks destroyed and 2 capture points taken, and I think 3 assists. So that wasn't a whole lot. It was really good, but not as much as some battles could be. At any rate, previously in the old system, that probably would have got me around 6,000 to 8,000 RP. But with the new system in place, I was able to get a total of 13,500 research points. Yeah, excellent reward. And if the battle had lasted longer, because this one only lasted 12 minutes, who knows what the reward could have been. And I'm curious if this would also affect air battles, because it didn't specifically mention air battles. It mostly highlighted on, I guess you could say highlighted on ground battles. But I think it's safe to assume this also applies to air battles. And I say this because I haven't played out a full realistic air RB match yet. But at any rate, the rewards for air RB have already been for a while really superior compared to ground battles. But I guess in a future video I will focus on that also when I get further information in that regard. Perhaps in my next video where I will, I guess, do my little storytelling about how I first came to War Thunder and what my experience was like, since the 6th anniversary of War Thunder is coming up. So definitely look forward to that. At any rate, if the rewards are indeed increased for air battles also, ooh, you're going to have a field day, especially when it comes to grinding Silver Lions. In that case, I'm definitely going to be taking advantage of that. So now, let's go back to the helicopters. We didn't forget about you, helis. Another nation is already going to get its own set of helicopters. Yippee! More helicopters, the better. These are going to be some interesting ones, too. Germany. is getting its own tree for helicopters. Now, unfortunately, I was not able to get on the dev server, mainly because for one thing, oh my good. For one thing, Tuesdays are my late busy nights, and on top of that, we had a storm roll over our house, and it wasn't the hurricane or anything, it was just like a cold weather storm. And that kind of put our internet on the fritz. It didn't knock it out, but it just slowed it down to a crawl. So what would have taken me only an hour, maybe 2 hours to download the dev server, it ended up taking 6 hours. So by the time it finished, I was like, I gotta leave, I got some things to do. So I didn't get to go on the dev server. But that's okay, because more likely than not, they'll have a second dev server up, and I'll be able to check that out. It'll be definitely more simpler, because it'll mostly focus on the German helicopters and the Royal Navy, which I will get into in a moment. So, starting off, and this is going off the developers blog we have at the moment, Germany is going to start off with, as a reserve helicopter, the SA-313B, aka the first Skylark. Now this helicopter I'm really excited for. This one looks really cool. While I don't know much of its history and its background, it does kind of remind me in a way of the Bell H-13 helicopter. Or OH-13. I guess because of its like, I don't know the technical name for it, but it's like a skeleton tail where there's no cloth around it. It kind of looks like a construction boom. It looks really cool. And plus, this helicopter, unlike some of the other helicopters that'll come after it on the German line, it has machine gun armament. I think this is going to be the best reserve, one of the best reserve helicopters in the game. Well, at least for the German line. It's going to be among the best, in my opinion. Because you got a variety of weapon systems. Unlike most of the other helicopters after it, you could attach machine guns and rockets, or machine guns and ATGMs. It's a very nice combination, and 4 MG3A1MGs. That is really cool. I'm definitely going to enjoy playing this helicopter when it comes out. The next helicopter that's available for it on the German line is the UH-1D, the German Iroquois helicopter. Now this is very similar to the Huey helicopters we all know and love, but it's for the German Heer. I think I'm pronouncing it right, which I believe is like the German army. This helicopter is going to be really interesting in itself also. You got the 6 SS-11 style ATGMs, you can also load rockets, and you can also load up the miniguns. But the main hallmark of the helicopter tree are the BO-105 attack helicopters. These are some cool looking machines, and while unfortunately I don't think there are machine gun loadouts available for them, but they do have tow missiles and hot missiles. So that's sorry, I got ahead of myself. 2 of them have hot missiles, and there's one variant, the premium one, which I believe is the 105CB2. Yeah, that's the one. It's an experimental version with 8 American tow ATGMs. So while it may not have any machine gun armament, it has 8 ATGMs, which will definitely come in handy. So you'll definitely be able to make good use of the ATGMs if you play them in Tank RB. The problem and my early concern about the lack of an MG armament is how are they going to perform in dedicated helicopter versus helicopter battles? Because from my personal experience, and as you've seen so far in this video, is that machine guns and grenade launchers really are an excellent hallmark of any attack helicopter. Because generally, I haven't been able to get, at least as of late, I was able to on the dev server, well, the 1.81 dev server to be particular, I was able to go after a number of ground units without much resistance from enemy helicopters. But I think the issue now, and what differs from the dev server, is that helicopter battles in helicopter versus helicopter mode are pretty large. 16 versus 16, which is comparable to that of regular air or tank battles. I'm curious to see if reducing that number by half to 8 would probably, and in addition, or maybe repositioning the ground units to where it's easier to get to them. Maybe that would be more practical for some attack helicopters that may not have strong MG armament, so they can have a chance at going after some ground units. Maybe have the light units closer to you to get access to, and have the heavier ones, the ones that are harder to destroy, further back, so that the other side can defend them, and vice versa. At any rate, I'm interested to see how they could be optimized, given that we're getting a new breed of attack helicopters in the next patch. And then last but not least, this wasn't, at the time of the making of this video, this helicopter does not have its own dev blog yet, but it would seem that the Germans are also getting the Russian Mi-24P with the 230mm cannon. That's going to be an interesting loadout. It's funny, at first when I saw that, I was like, what, are they getting a second premium helicopter? But then I was like, no, that can't be the case, because there's already that BO-105 attack helicopter available in the premium shop. And in addition, generally how they're doing it, I guess as a test batch, is there are 5 standard helicopters per tree and just 1 premium helicopter per tree. In other words, essentially 6 helicopters per tree. So yeah, the Mi-24 I assume is going to be at the top of the line, which would be interesting. I'm curious as to, I guess in a way this is good. I thought they would probably get a German variant of the Apache, but then I was like, maybe not, because otherwise American players would complain, where's our Apache? You know? Because War Thunder did this previously when they added the French AD4, which is an AD2 with 4 20mm cannons instead of 2, before they added it for the American line. And people were like, hey, why didn't we get our AD4? So, the patch following immediately afterwards, they added the AD4 for the American line. So I guess they decided we're not going to make that mistake again, which I highly commend them for it. Because as cool as it would be for the Germans to get an Apache, that would probably have to be on the back burner until they can add it along with the American Apache at the same time, which is very nice. And then, as a final conclusion, I saved the best for last for a number of players, is very soon now. As I mentioned earlier, War Thunder will soon, it's barely been a month, we'll get another update. 1.83 Masters of the Sea. It's funny, I thought it was Monsters of the Sea or Sea Monsters, but it's really Masters of the Sea. So, oops. So, and also, War Thunder ships will now be going into, or well, when I say now, I mean with the introduction of 1.83, will go into open beta, with the exclusion of the Royal Navy tech tree for obvious reasons. But as you may know, and this is, by the time this video is out, they probably have already done this, they will have wiped the progress for the CBT nations, namely the United States, Germany, and Russia. But that's okay, because you should be able to, if your heart decides this, if it's to your heart's content, that's the expression I was looking for, you can spend a small amount of gold and get those said vehicles back if you want. Personally, I think I would mainly go up to tier 2 for some nations, particularly like on the German line. I would like the battle barges, or not, I don't know if it's the battle barge, but it's basically that weird boat, I forget what it's called, forgive me, where it has 4 X4 20mm cannon. Yeah, 12 20mm at your disposal. Now, I've heard they've nerfed it, but that's not going to stop me. I still want that cool looking vehicle, because my friends had that vehicle or that ship, and I was like, wow, I want that too. So I'm definitely going to look forward to that. Alrighty. And for conclusion, I forgot to mention this earlier, as you may know, as part of the 1.83 Masters of the Sea, with the introduction of the Royal Navy, there will be 2 packs for you to purchase that will give you access to the Royal Navy CBT. They are the HMCS Haida and MTB Fairmile D. Sorry if I said either of those wrong. They cost $50 and $20 respectively. So all in all, I am really excited for the upcoming patch and for the changes that have been made so far with the game. I really think it is a huge, huge step in the right direction. No pun intended. But anyway, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you are enjoying the video so far. I really enjoy doing these, even though I don't get to do them as often as I'd like. Oh, and I forgot to mention this at the beginning. I tried a little experiment because I've gotten some feedback that on some of my videos there have been glitches in my audio. That is where I'm in the middle of talking and you hear this echo or feedback. I've tried a little experiment that has hopefully solved that problem, and if not, I will see what I can do in the next video to hopefully solve that problem. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, stay safe, and until next time, peace out.